My people, what's good? I'm Big Tone, one half of the Chronic OGs. This is our podcast. Thank you for listening in today. First thing I want to ask is please hit the subscribe button, hit the follow button, hit the like button. That's important for my brother Smitty and I to really get rolling with this podcast. We think, although there's a lot to learn, we think we can be successful at it. So for everybody that like Big Tone, Smitty, like some of the stuff that we brought you, please subscribe on YouTube and on Spotify. So here's what I want to talk about today in this episode of the Chronic OGs. So I'm sure you guys have heard a lot of it from the quote-unquote pundits. I'm neither. I'm not an expert in football or a pundit. Well, what I do know is if your defense only allows a touchdown in regulation because of a muff punt in the Super Bowl, you shouldn't lose your job. So, as we all know, brother Steve Wilkes is fired as defensive coordinator of 49ers. And at first, I was rooting for the 49ers. I'm glad as hell they lost. So, Steve Wilkes got shafted, tossed in Arizona. I was actually there at the time. They drafted Josh Rosen. Where's Josh Rosen right now? And then Cliff Kingsbury comes in after being mediocre in college, but we know how that thing goes down. Steve Wilkes then goes to Carolina, where Matt Rule was. 5 games into the season, Matt Rule is fired. Steve Wilkes comes in and does the same type of job with Carolina that Antonio Pierce did with the Raiders this past season. But they decided to let Steve Wilkes go, bring in Frank Reich, who they fired before the end of the season. Then he goes to the 49ers. And he leads a defense that averages 17.5 points a game during the regular season. Yes, there was a couple times they kind of lost their way a little bit. Lamar can do that to a lot of people. But 17.5 points a game, all the metrics show that they were a better defense than DeMeco Ryans' defense, and they were a better defense than Robert Saleh's defense. So, boy genius, Kyle Shanahan, in this conference call with reporters, announced that he was firing Steve Wilkes. Scapegoat. Hashtag scapegoat. But the interesting part, I think the part that people listen talking about is the comments following that boy genius Kyle Shanahan made. When he said, it's kind of hard without DeMeco Ryan. Or it's been kind of hard without Robert Saleh. I'm paraphrasing, but that's something like he said. Something to the effect. Really, my dude? So, what does Steve Wilkes and his and your defense have to do with that muff punt? Nick Bosa comes out and say we can be better prepared. Did y'all see the way they was handling the Kansas City defense for the majority of the game? I'm sorry, the Kansas City offense for the majority of the game. Why weren't you prepared, homie? There's a couple times when you let my homeboy pass you because you didn't keep your edge support or whatever the case may be. That's not preparation, that's you. We watching the game like, yo, don't push up too far. That's what he wants. So he can step up and step around you. Did that a couple times. That's not preparation, bro. You know how my homeboy get down. So there was a time in the Super Bowl, right after Patrick Mahomes threw that interception, that San Francisco had 3 straight possessions. In these possessions, with the Offensive Player of the Year on the field, you run the ball. You have three and outs. You run the ball 8 times. I'm sorry. You pass the ball 8 times and run it once with C-Mac behind you. I see what was going down. As much as I like and respect Brock Purdy, I see what was going down right there. Your boy Joey went, Kyle Shanahan, boy genius, was trying to get Brock Purdy MVP of the game. I'm going to go over a couple things with y'all. My homeboy had 1 TD. The entire team had 1 TD in regulation. And that was the result of a missed punt. So I already went over the 3 straight possessions. So here's another point. Under 3 minutes to go, they on Kansas City side of the ball, San Francisco is. They got first down, 1st and 10. Kansas City got 2 timeouts left. You run the ball. This is 4th quarter. You run the ball to C-Mac, you get 5 yards. Your next 2 plays is pass plays. You just got 5 yards on 1st down, bro. With the best back in the league. But you run it, you pass it the next 2 plays. That's not on Steve Wilkes, homie. We're not going to, and then the other thing we're not even going to attempt to mention, yes I am, is the Super Bowl blunder. The overtime blunder. The number one reason why that overtime was a blunder is because your players didn't even know the new playoff rule. Your players did not know the rule. That comes from the top, homie. Steve Wilkes, that ain't Steve Wilkes' fault that you didn't do your job. It ain't Steve Wilkes' fault that you chose to tell Mahomes, hey, bro, no matter what, each possession, you don't have 3 downs, you got 4. The best way to beat Patrick Mahomes is to keep him off the field. Brock Purdy, there's nothing about that Super Bowl that says Brock Purdy should have thrown the ball 38 times. Nothing. 30 times tops. And if Christian McCaffrey was tired or worn down, well, you should have anticipated that, and you should have ran Mitchell more in the 2nd and 3rd quarters so that C-Mac would have been ready to go, and no matter how many times you gave him the ball in 4th quarter, he was ready to go. So I don't want to hear anybody talk about, well, you can't give it. There was a young lady online talking about, well, he already had 20 carries. I don't give 2 shits since the Super Bowl. You think somebody looked at Mike and said, oh, he already shot that thing 25 times. He shouldn't shoot it no more. We should go to Scotty. Shit. You think they was like, oh, we need to go to Pau Gasol because Kobe already shot it 25 times. And it's game 7. Kobe was 6 for 24 in game 7. He was determined to get, we're not going to lose. He did that before, and look what happened to him. The best players need to be more involved when it counts more. Kittle had 1 catch, I believe, 1 or 2 catches. Was pretty much a non-factor except for in the blocking game. That's not Steve Wilkes' fault, but that's damn sure a reason why you lost. There's nothing about, and then those last 2 drives, Steve Wilkes he was trying everything. He did everything in his power to stop Mahomes. Mahomes was that dude. You were the one to decide to give Mahomes the opportunities he had because you decided not to run the ball. But then you turn around and blame the brother for it. You and John Lynch. At this time, so he can't get another defensive coordinator job because they all feel. So he gonna end up being like a goddamn position coach or some bullshit like that. And realistically, the dude at worst should be a defensive coordinator in the league still. At worst. But it goes to that good old boy network. And no matter how we think, in the end, this is what they try to do to us. Absolutely. And I'm not going to think second of it. And there's nothing nobody's going to be able to do to change my mind. You're going to fire this dude as if it was his fault. And I tell y'all another thing. The time when he burned the timeout because he did not like the defense that was on the field. Shanahan did. He called the timeout, so they switched the defense up, and they got a first down. So whether the coverage was right or wrong, bro, whatever you suggested probably didn't fucking work. Just like your game plan did not work. How many times did I get in the red zone? Oh, it was Christian McCaffrey that fumbled when he got in the red zone. But that was Steve Wilkes' fault. It's 3rd and 5 or 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3 in the fucking Super Bowl, and you gonna kick a field goal and tell Mahomes, look, not only do you get 4 downs, homie, let me tell you what else I'm gonna do for you. You only gotta, if you get 3 points, you don't lose. You only gotta get a field goal to stay in the game. You score a touchdown, you're gonna win it. That's what we're doing right now. But it's always the brother's fault, bro. Always. And it's getting to a point right now where it's the way he just did Kyle Shanahan was real. The way he just did Steve Wilkes was really symbolic of what they think of us. You really think you can go out and have a defense better than 3rd when all the great defensive coordinators are taken up? You better go get Rex Ryan. You better go get Rex Ryan, as my man Bart Scott said today on ESPN. Shout out Bart Scott. You better go get Rex Ryan, because other than that, you're not going to get any better. They're all field. But you probably think you can do it with anybody. Okay, let's do this. 28-3 in the Super Bowl, but once again, you wanted to make sure, which he would have already been, but you had to make it look like the quarterback was that guy. You were the offensive coordinator on a team that gave up a 28-3 lead because you refused to run the ball when you should have. Then we go to the 2019. You gave up another double-digit lead. Yeah, granted, porn star Jimmy missed the throw to Sanders, but still, you're coaching that team. You have a 10-point lead right now, and you have Kansas City on the ropes. They are on the ropes, and your offense don't get it done. Steve Wilkes did his job, bro. The dereliction of duty is on you, Kyle Shanahan. It is not on Steve Wilkes. He should have not lost his job. I'm not saying you should have lost your job, but it's insulting for that black man to lose his job the way he did after the way his defense performed. Nick Bosa did everything he could to throw him under the bus. We could have been better prepared. Really? The only touchdown they scored in regulation was off a muff punt. Patrick fucking Mahomes? And you're saying you could have been better prepared? And the fourth down play that he ran, got the first down on, he called that. The other run when he got 19 yards, Fred Warner took a wrong angle and let Patrick Mahomes run past him. That's not coaching. You cannot let P-Mac run past you like that when you Fred Warner, an all-time great linebacker. That ain't Steve Wilkes. He shouldn't have lost his job. I don't know Steve Wilkes from a can of paint. I don't. But I'm advocating for him because it's bullshit. We're always the fucking scapegoat. We're always the scapegoat. We got to do tremendous fucking things to be the reason. We ain't got to do nothing to be the reason for failure. But what do we have to do to be the reason for success? Instead of you thanking this man and saying, hey, thank you. I need to give Steve Wilkes props because his defense kept us in the game. You fire him. You pump his asshole. You pump it. Your team didn't know the overtime rules. You gave Patrick Mahomes 4 downs, and you only scored 3 points prior to that in the overtime. And you're going to fire this dude. So you can hold him accountable. I have a question. Who's there to hold you accountable? Because the damn sure ain't John Lynch, because John Lynch answers to you and your daddy. So who holds you accountable? Because somebody need to. Somebody absolutely need to hold you accountable. And the owners of San Francisco, should have blocked this fight. They should have not okayed it. If they watched the Super Bowl like the rest of us did, they should not be okay with this. And it's sad. It's absolutely sad. And it amazes me that I'm hearing people say, oh, I was shocked. I can't believe he did that. I've not heard anybody, but unfortunately, on Nightcap, I've not heard anybody but Shannon Sharp really lose their shit over this. And a lot of people say it's not worth losing your shit over. Ain't nothing you can do. Tony, you just a lonely podcaster. Why? Who are you? This, that, and the other. This, that. But I'm a person that experienced that before in the corporate world. That's who I am. And that's why I'm so upset. I've experienced the same damn thing a couple times in corporate America. So that's why I'm bothered. That's why I'm super upset. And that's why I'm going on this rant. Yes, it's a rant, and that's fine. It could be a rant. Y'all can call it what you will, that's fine. But what I do know, what you're not going to say, yeah, he should have been fired. He didn't do his job in the Super Bowl. The defense looked like trash. The defense couldn't get any momentum. Patrick Mahomes was just running up and down the field like he was in 7-7 practice. You can't say none of that shit about that defense. But I know what you can say. Offense got stalled. He couldn't get George Kittle the ball. Brock Purdy threw the ball 38 times. Couldn't get Christian McCaffrey the ball in the fourth quarter. Bad play calling under 3 minutes. Your team didn't know, your players didn't know the overtime rules. You decided to receive the ball in overtime, and then you only scored 3 points to who might be the greatest quarterback ever when it's all said and done. Definitely the greatest quarterback at the age of 28. He's the greatest quarterback under 30 in the history of the NFL. And you gave that guy all those opportunities. He took advantage of those opportunities. You got egg on your face, but instead of wiping that egg off like a man and owning up to the mistakes you made and the job you didn't do with your offense, you blame it on Steve Wilkes. And you and George Lynch got the audacity to sit up that table and try to justify that bullshit. That's what we're doing right now. I don't care who. Part of white privilege is not holding yourself accountable to the same things you'll hold others accountable to. Others being people of color. That's white privilege. That is white privilege at the core definition. It's white privilege. Holding others accountable for shit that pops off that you don't hold yourself accountable to. I've yet to hear somebody come on TV. I watch sports talk radio. I watch sports. That was dumb. I watch sports talk TV all day. I listen to it when I'm in a car, this, that, and the other. I've yet to hear someone say that the firing, he should have been fired. If it was a situation where you didn't like the schemes or something like that, you can work around that. Hey, you know what, Steve? Moving forward, I like to see more of this and less of this, and then let's work through those things and make sure we can get those things the way I want them. You could approach my man like that. I'm sure my man would have been like, okay, cool, let's discuss it. Give me about a week off, this, that, and the other. Then he'd have walked out your office and said, bitch ass, he's the reason we lost the Super Bowl. But you know what? He wouldn't have acted upon it because you got the control. You were the reason, Kyle Shanahan. Rob Smitty, that's your team. Kyle Shanahan was the reason y'all lost that Super Bowl. You got a second-year quarterback that don't turn the ball over at all, and you still can't get it done? Uncle Matt McCoy, I know that's your squad. Kyle Shanahan is the reason y'all not celebrating the Super Bowl right now. It is not Steve Wilkes, homie. Trust what I tell you, it ain't Steve. And anybody that think it is, they lost their money. And you know what? From this point forward, because it's funny how we are, 60, 70, maybe 80% in the league in the NFL? Where we sitting at? 45, 50% head coaches? Something like that, 40%? Think about that. So it's always going to be our fault when the shit pop off. When we got any sense of, when we had coordinator status, it's going to be our fault, bro. And it's not cool. Hashtag Steve Wilkes. Shout out to Steve Wilkes. I hope he sees this video. Hey, bro, this ain't going to be the last time I talk about you, my dude. You got shitted on in Arizona. You got shitted on in Carolina. Those facts are proven. And you just got shitted on again, man. And because of that, the like I had, I used to like the 49ers. I'll never root for them again. I know y'all don't give a shit, and that's fine, but I'll never root for them again. Hey, thank you for tuning into this episode of the Chronic OGs Podcast. I'm Big Tone. Sorry for my rant, but I felt like this was something that needed to be said that I had to get off my chest. Please hit the subscribe button. Please hit the like button. I got a couple of other podcasts that will be dropping this weekend that are very informative, entertaining, and enlightening and funny. So once again, shout out my partner in crime, Smitty. This is Big Tone. I'm out. Peace.